And then when we got married, we didn't really know each other. We had a clash of cultures. I was a very reserved, low emotion Brit. Heather was much more, different kind of personality, grown up in a different culture. And suddenly we were trying to cohabit and be one together, and they were just immediately just clashes everywhere. Which some people work that through before they get married. We didn't really have time for that, so that became part of the beginning of our married life.
Talking about compatible, I think sometimes I'm thinking, how do you define that? How do you define compatible?
挑战您的价值观，返璞归真过生活。欢迎收看《10万个为什么》，我是你的好朋友路德。在节目一开始，提醒大家订阅我的频道，并打开小铃铛，千万不要错过每周五的精彩节目哦。
I don't know if you mind share a little bit about your first marriage. As Christian, we always seek for God's will.
Yes.
But what's the difference between the first and the second marriage when you make the decision of marriage?
So, my first husband I met when I was in high school, and so we went out for a lot of years together. And when you've been going out, it was like 7 years or something. Because we were so young, he went into the army in South Africa, then he came out again, and backwards and forwards, and we'd break up and then we'd make up. And then sometimes he'd go off and have another girlfriend, and I'd have another boyfriend. In that whole relationship, it didn't have a good foundation, but it was my first boyfriend in that kind of way. And so we always kind of thought,
sweetheart.
You know how that, and so so that up and down relationship, people would look at us and say, oh, you're together again. Oh, you've broken up again. And it was like, it didn't have a good foundation.
A lot of flash and feeling, this kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and so he phoned me one day and he said, I know I'll always love you because you've been someone I've known for so many years, and even though I've met other people, I think you're the one for me. And I guess that made me like, really? That's amazing. And so we went for a drive one day and he said, I just think we should get married. And I was just taken in by that, and that was wrong. It was a wrong foundation.
You didn't pray, didn't seek for God?
Not really. It was just like, I've known him, I think that's a good idea. And so we said, but we must do it quickly now because we keep breaking up, so let's just do this. Let's just get married. And so people, my whole family knew him well. He worked in my family company. Everyone knew him, and so it was the thing to do. Let's just get married. And we got married, but the thing is, we didn't argue. It wasn't an abusive marriage or anything. We never, but there was like because there'd been a lot of makeup and breakup, there wasn't a good foundation. And so we just like felt there was something missing in the marriage. And so sometimes I would talk to him and say, are you okay? Is everything okay? So I'm just so tired. I'm just working so hard at life. It's just so busy. And but I could sense something wasn't quite right for quite a number of years, really. And I think maybe then, but because we didn't argue and we weren't like, it wasn't outwardly. In fact, I used to go for counseling because I started getting insecure even in that marriage, just when it started. And they used to say, how's your marriage? Is that okay? And I say, actually, my marriage is fine. Because actually, outwardly, there wasn't anything I could say, well, he's horrible, because he wasn't mean or anything. But we were both just not happy. We just sensed this is not right. And so I think when he met this other lady, he kind of was attracted to her because he wasn't happy in our marriage. He just felt something was really not right from the start. And actually, when the whole thing came out and he left, I actually felt a lot better in a strange way, because I'd almost like had to pretend for years that everything was fine, because I wasn't the kind of person that would get divorced. I wouldn't have just given up. And so I was getting more and more unhappy and more insecure. And I think all the insecurities started then. because I wasn't admitting, or I didn't
Yeah.
even really realize
Yeah.
that actually I was just living a life of not in the light. There was something wrong. We weren't being truthful with each other, because maybe if we'd been walked in the light with each other, we could have gone for counseling,
Yeah.
and we could have got help. But I was really unhappy, and I didn't know why. And so, yeah, I suppose I can see it worked out well for me in the end, because he chose to do that. Not that I believe that that's the answer, and I wouldn't have done that. So he chose to do that. He ended up marrying that lady, and and so now when I compare the security and the love that I feel in this marriage compared to that, you can't even
Yeah.
begin to compare that. And I guess the Lord could see that. The Lord knew that.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, when you were sharing, I'm just thinking about the Abraham's two sons. You know, Ishmael and Isaac.
That's true.
The first one is man-made. The second one is God-made.
That's such a good example. Oh goodness, yes.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
very good example. That's true.
yeah.
I did feel exactly like that. Totally. It's a very good example.
Yeah. God's choice is the best.
Yes. Yes.
And the remarriage actually it's even harder than the
Yeah.
first marriage.
Yeah.
The marriage divorce rate is 50%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 1 out of 2. But
Yeah.
the second marriage divorce rate is
Wow.
2 out of 3.
Wow.
And the third marriage is 3 out of 4.
Wow.
It's actually increased the
Wow.
divorce rate.
That's high numbers.
Yeah, so that's scary for
I can see that, yeah. And I honestly, there was one thing I was feeling, that I would like to be healed. I would like to be in a place where I was stronger. And so, yeah, in the natural, I was like, because I also sat down, and when it all came out, I said, Mike, you don't realize I've got these areas of insecurity in my life. In fact, like fears, I used to fear having a panic attack. I used to have some real, it became quite a strong thing, which praise the Lord, has totally healed me of now, and that's another testimony that I have. But the fact that he was prepared to marry me, and knowing that, it was amazing. I was just so like, Lord, this is just incredible. Yeah, it was amazing that he, and so that was part of our story of just loving and accepting each other, because when we got married, he also had issues that we had to work through. But because I saw his incredible love and acceptance of me, I was able to look at those and go, you know what?
Yeah.
The way you love me and accept me, I can overlook those areas in your life.
Yeah.
Just love and accept you for who you are. I mean, we had challenges for sure, but that was always our foundation of just loving and accepting each other as we were. And that helped us work through all the other different issues.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Wow. This is definitely the secret of successful marriage, right? Fully love and accept. In our world, that many people, they face the difficulties in their marriages because they still have those criteria, in their heart, in their mind. And if their husband and wife don't really met those expectations, they feel like, oh, I can't find someone else.
Yes.
That's
true.
But for you guys, this is from the Lord, and it's not your expectation. It's not your criteria. It's not your list. Because of that, you can, really accept.
I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, that was really, that was our foundation. So when we did get married then, and we had our differences, we used to say, well, Lord, you did this. You brought us together. So you've obviously got a purpose for our lives. And so there must be a reason why we're working through these things. And so that was always our foundation, just knowing that he was helping us to work through them. And he certainly has. He really has.
Maybe I will ask Mike to share more about those challenges.
Sure.
So an example might be communication style. This was one that we had to get used to. So my communication style growing up in my house, if anyone raised their voice, there was a major problem. It wasn't part of the culture. In Heather's family, she told me that, you know, they would often debate things, disagree with things, you know, they'd be like out kind of in your face, and it was fine. That was just normal life, and they still loved each other, and they would you know, laugh, and that was what she knew. So there were situations early on in our marriage where Heather would try and talk to me about something, but she was really expressing herself, and the level of communication in my correlation was like, this is close on World War III in my background. Like, we don't talk like that, and I just almost backflipped, just like, oh my goodness, I'm in such a bad place, I've made such a big mistake. And I was, but she didn't mean that at all, but I didn't know that. And then my response to conflict, because I'd never been trained with anything around conflict, was to withdraw. Rather than stand and fight or say, no, but my opinion is, I'd been trained to like, well, not trained, but that's how I'd become. And I would withdraw. So in the first year of our marriage, sometimes I would just withdraw, and really I would sulk. I would like, I don't like this, and I wouldn't talk to her. It's crazy. Like, I'm a Christian, and the Lord's brought us into this marriage, but I just wasn't handling this very well. The first year of our marriage, I would often go to I had a prayer room, and I would go to my prayer room, and my prayer was something like this. It's like, Lord, this marriage was your idea. You had better fix it. Now that's a very arrogant, maybe I wasn't quite as arrogant as that, but that was the anger almost within my heart. It's like, you got me into this, you're going to have to fix it. And then as I will calm down, it's almost like the Lord will gently speak back and say, I actually want to fix you. That's the whole point, is that I couldn't get into these areas of your heart in any other way. And my love is towards both of you. And that my prayer started to change, and then I started to see, okay, Lord, what do you want to teach me through this season? How can you access areas of my heart where I should be changing? And, you know, the whole thing turned. And again, I don't know how I would do that if it wasn't that I was walking with the Lord. I started to see she didn't mean anything nastily through that. That's how she is. She's different to me, and equally the other way around. And I think when we came to this understanding that our strength is going to develop when we accept each other for who we are in our differences, even if some of that needs to change from both sides, it won't change if we try and insist on change, or if we get offended by the difference. I think that became the key to us resolving those differences, and you start to see each other through a different lens, and you even start to appreciate those differences rather than be, I don't know, like offended by them or challenged by them, whatever. So that's really been a bedrock for our lives for over 30 years. Is even now, as you know, as you're developing in new ways in the Lord, and He brings new challenges. We're still working more and more into wholeness. But the principle is just accept. We just agree to accept each other as we are, and then that gives the space to grow.
So maybe that's also one of the reasons why God put you guys together, because you are different, and He wants us to be like Him, to be, you know, really deny ourselves, right? We are different, but I can sacrifice myself for you, because I love you.
But you actually come into fullness, much more fullness than you would on your own. Right, if you, in a very simple concept, right? If you've got two different people that have different gifts and different abilities, and they equally have different weaknesses, and if the Lord, you know, majestically somehow brings two people together that complement each other because they fill each other's gaps, right? So where I'm weak, you're strong. Where you're strong, I'm weak. The same thing, right? It's the other way around. We complement each other, and together we're a much better whole. We actually, and in terms of like even being a witness or contribute to the life of the church, we actually carry something much richer because we're one together than if we were trying to be relying on ourselves, getting strong in every area. That's never going to happen. Right? Even in the wider picture of the body, we all bring different things to the community. But in a marriage, that's the kind of microcosm of that. So don't, if anyone's watching and you're worried that sometimes people say you're not compatible if you don't think or live the same way. I mean, often, in my experience, especially amongst Christians in marriage, that's often a good thing. Now, the Lord uses those differences if you will both yield to Him, and give Him everything.
Yeah. Talking about compatible, how do you define that? How do you define compatible?
I'm a pretty simple thinker on things like that, and I think really the root of being compatible is what I already said, that Derek Prince shared, is that you're compatible when you're both, as your first priority, wanting to serve the purpose of God in your life. If you're both wanting to do that and pursue that with everything, then you're compatible. If one wants that and the other doesn't, then there's actually a clash of kingdoms. And for anyone that's contemplating relationships and not yet married, I would never encourage a Christian to pursue a relationship with a non-Christian. It's not a religion issue, it's a spiritual kingdom issue. There's basically two spiritual kingdoms. One's headed by Jesus, the other's headed by Satan. And then one's light, one's darkness, whatever. And you will never get fellowship and union across those two kingdoms. And sadly, often what happens is someone chooses to do that as a believer because they like the person in other ways. And in order to come more and more into compatibility, they get drawn more and more into the kingdom of darkness. Occasionally it happens the other way around. And the witness works and it brings the partner in as a Christian, but unless the Lord really makes it clear and confirms it not 3 or 6 times but a lot more, I would say that's probably not what God wants, because compatibility is really at the heart of spirituality. But both have a heart for Jesus. That's the key, I think.
But do they have to have the same calling?
No, I mean, the Lord works that out. He blends it, and they complement each other. And there's no such thing as a single calling in the kingdom, really. We have to have a calling that understands we're a small part of a much bigger picture. It doesn't matter what we're doing. Partnership and relationship and mutual respect across many gifts and ministries is essential, whether you're single or married. But it's most likely that there's going to be some level of flowing together between the two partners. There's some common ground, but there's probably going to be different emphases where one might be stronger in teaching, the other one's more hospitable or pastoral or prophetic, or those kinds of things. And together, just recognizing the value of each other, then you both flourish in who you're supposed to be together. That's the way I'd see that.
Yes, because maybe the calling is also changing, right, through the time. So for a period of time, maybe you're called to be a teacher, but then when you have kids, you are called to be a mom or dad or something. It's like that change also.
It does. Actually, there's a little story in that, because we've talked about the Falkland Islands, because I went to the Falklands. That's the first place I went to trying to follow the Lord as a missionary. And when I left there, I had this word in my heart: you're going to go to South Africa. But I left with another word, and that is that one day you're coming back to the Falklands. So when Heather and I were talking about whether we were going to get married or not, and we had this whole bring everything to the table, just tell each other everything about our lives. And I said to her, one thing you need to know is that I feel the Lord has said I've got to go back to the Falklands one day. The work isn't done there, there's another reason. And her immediate response from her perspective then was, the Falkland Islands, you'll never get me there. And we weren't married yet, and it's like, what do I do with that? Right, so I feel I've got that in my calling. My potential wife is saying, well, I won't go. It's like, well, this seems like a real conflict issue. So I just said to her, I still remember it, I said, well, we just have to trust the Lord to sort that out. So either it's right that we need to go and He'll change your heart, or it's not a big deal to Him, we can go somewhere else that you'd be happy with. I don't know. Let's just leave it. If the Lord is bringing us together in marriage, He's going to figure that out. And then when it got close to the time when the Lord wanted us in the Falklands, He just touched Heather's heart so that she actually wanted to go there. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So again, don't be off-put by differences or perceived differences in calling and purpose, because you just got to both walk with Jesus together and watch how amazingly He works it out.
Amen.
It's a very similar thing. I probably would have thought I will never go to America. I just I never wanted to come to America. And the Lord changed my heart, and here we are, we're Americans today. So
yeah. I think to summarize what you're sharing
Wow.
is
It's a lot, yeah.
really, really the lordship, you know, just
Yeah.
really obey him, and yeah, he's the one who start,
Yeah.
he's the one who develop, he's the one who really solves the problem.
And he's in us all the time. Like,
Mhm.
that's the whole principle, isn't it, that we have Christ in us.
Mm.
And even with the Great Commission, which is maybe a ministry kind of thinking, Jesus said, Matthew 28, and I will be with you always, even to the end of the age. So it's like, it's not like he gives us a commandment and then go follow it, and it's like, I got to try work this out.
Mm.
He reveals his will, and then he lives it out with us. Like, it's together, always. And the other thing with lordship, because it was a struggle for me a little bit at times in my Christian life, is that there's a key principle that Jesus said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. And so I believe that the love relationship we have with the Lord is the key to obedience. It's not like a do what I say, do what I say. You know, we're not called as servants and slaves, we're called as sons and joint heirs, and, you know, brother of Jesus even. And it comes out of a love relationship. It comes out of a desire to please, and and just an affection for just the Lord's heart for us.
Yes.
It's not cumbersome.
Yeah, I think if you really love the Lord, it's easier to do what he asks you to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't want anything else.
Yeah, it's not like a religious mind. Oh, I
Exactly.
have to obey. I have to obey. If you have love, obey can be a
Right.
obedience can be a joy.
Yeah.
Can be a, yeah.
And then maybe one final thought on that is that, well, how do I get to that place of loving God like that? And I think the scripture's pretty clear that the Apostle John had a really deep love relationship with Jesus in the natural when Jesus was walking around. Later he wrote his letter, 1 John, and he says it's an amazing revelation that we love because he first loved us.
Yeah.
It's such a principle, and that's what happened to me in that rock concert all those years ago. That was the message I heard, like, Jesus loves you. And, you know, once we are open our lives to the love of God, it's an automatic response that we want to love him back. And it's just this love cycle. I love him, he loves me. It's significant to me that the main commandments, the greatest commandment we call it, right? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind and strength. The second is like it, love your neighbour as yourself. And then Jesus only specifically issued one new commandment. A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another. Like, the whole kingdom experience, the whole Christian marriage experience operates in the love of God.
Yes.
He loves us first, and then we can just let it out, give it back.
So good.
That's the key to a Christian marriage too.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's very different from the worldly love story, right? The worldly love story is like, oh, we attract each other, we are friends for long time, and then we decide, okay, this is our choice, so we decide. But actually, this is maybe not really God's idea. So later on, we realize, okay, actually, my flesh is not strong enough to keep this relationship. Yeah, but your story is opposite. You decide this is God's idea, and then you just work on your flesh.
And you grow in love for each other. I mean, that's. I remember one person explaining this, the Christian marriage compared to the Hollywood movie kind of marriage.
Yeah.
The Hollywood movie style is, it's all like, and this can happen for Christians, I'm not saying it can't, but it's suddenly this like love at first sight thing, and it's all like, so you hit the high point at the beginning, and then gradually it leaks, and it just goes down, 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 and there's other things, and eventually, sadly, a lot of people end up breaking up. They want to go get that high again somewhere else.
Yeah.
Whereas with the Christian marriage, it often goes the other way, and we talk about it now. I think we're at the height of our married relationship today. Like, we're not trying to hold on. Like, it's the best it's ever been.
Yes.
And I think that's God's will. It's just increasing wholeness and fruitfulness and growth, and so it's a journey. You grow together in a Christian marriage. That's the difference.
Yeah, it's like in the Bible. Actually, the marriage in Bible, they are not like Hollywood. We didn't really see any like dating stories in the Bible. It's always like Almost most of the marriage are arranged marriage.
They seem to be more like arranged.
Yeah.
We sometimes joke about that. We say ours is an arranged marriage, arranged in the Father's heart.
Yeah.
Right, and that doesn't feel like it's as problematic as we might, as Westerners, think of arranged marriages in other cultures. But yeah, it was kind of like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And just to say as well, I think that some people, they may be married already and then they become Christians later. And so, the whole idea of hearing the Lord lead you to the right partner just didn't exist because you didn't know him at that time. It doesn't mean you can't have a Christian marriage now. It doesn't matter who you're with in that sense. If you will both yield to the Lordship of Jesus, then you can enter a Christian marriage. Right? So it can start at that point when you make that, really where you introduce him into your covenant. I like the word covenant that you introduced there,
Yeah.
And that's the difference. In fact, again, the same guy I was talking about, Derek Prince, gave a teaching on the key to a successful marriage. And it surprises most people because the way he phrased it, the key that he sees is the fear of the Lord. And it's not that marriage is founded in fear, but the fear of the Lord is a phrase that means that you understand his lordship and that, ultimately your desire is to please God. And that if both partners have an ultimate desire to please God, that is the key to a successful marriage because the Lord works out the rest. Whereas if you become very self-focused, my needs aren't being met, my spouse is failing me in this area, you become very inward-looking and self-focused rather than living for the Lord, then that's when marriages really struggle. But if you will both say, no, I'm actually living for Jesus, then somehow he works it out.
Amen. Yes. By the way, we want to talk about Mike's book. So he is author of this book, More Than a Little Part. So we know we have mind, we have soul, we have heart, we have body, but we don't really know how to follow or understand our subconscious. So that's a very unique area. It's an area we don't talk about, even at the church. We don't talk about it a lot. So if you are interested, I think that also will help you for relationships, right?
Oh yeah.
Definitely. I think sometimes when we make decisions, we don't really make decisions out of our conscience. Actually, it's subconscious.
Yeah.
But we just don't really know.
Yeah, and the significance there is that sometimes the reason we behave the way we do is something hidden inside us. It's in a subconscious part of us that I didn't know about until recently. And I was moved to write the book because discovering this has helped me so much in my devotion to the Lord and living in his ways. And that I don't want to keep living, as a result of past things or believing false things or things people have said to me or experiences of life. And this book really is just it's a very simple kind of manual, if you like, about how you can explore what might be going on in those deeper areas of your life that are affecting your behavior today. And the good news is how actually relatively easy it is to get in there and adjust it, and especially to bring it into line with what God has given us in this amazing new life that we have in Christ, so that we can live there, not just know about it, but live there. So that's the book, More Than a Leopard. Yeah, it's
Amazon or
can get it anywhere. Yeah,
okay.
Either go to the publisher, but Amazon, most people will just go there first, and you can get it from Amazon.
Yeah, I can put the link of this book under this video. So if you are interested, please check it out.
Everybody's story is going to be different. There's no absolutes, there's no set patterns. The only common ground, and I've said it a few times now, is live. If you live for Jesus, that's the key.
Yeah, I really heard that. After interviewed many couples, and find the common thing is, especially the guy, the husband, he kind of gave up the idea of getting married. From there, God brings someone to him.
Yeah.
I just heard that, it's like a repeated.
Yeah, sometimes if you're striving because you really want this relationship, it's hard to find it.
Yeah.
and maybe it would even be unhelpful for you in your walk with the Lord. And when you say, okay, I forget it, then the Lord says, okay, now I can do it for you. Maybe that's what you mean.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
He kind of forced me into that by telling me not to get married at the beginning. And then he could come very easily at the right time and make it happen.
And because of that, you know this is from the Lord, so you have more fear of the Lord. When the challenge happens, you know, when the problem, difficulties happen in the marriage, you know this is Lord's responsibility. You know, He will help you go through, because if it's from you, I always think if it's from me, I don't know if I can handle this, you know. If you don't know Jesus, maybe you are interested in knowing Him, and feel free to comment, feel free to contact us. If you want to know more about Him and to really want us to pray for you, you know, just feel free to comment.
Absolutely, that would be great. Thanks, Ruth.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
I'll see you next time. Bye.